Okay. Good day, my students. I guess there's one student at home. I am talking to you from your school, still on our online classes due to coronavirus pandemic. I wish you well wherever you are. God bless you. Today, we are looking at a topic on the board, population studies. Population studies. How do we carry out some studies on a population? Let me still refer you back to what we did last week, still on our ecology. I told us that an ecosystem is made up of different communities. Then, populations make up the communities in the ecosystem. So, in most ecosystems, the community is made up of many populations. And what do we mean by population? Remember I told you in our previous class that a population is organism of the same species or organism of the same kind living together in a habitat at the same time. Population simply means organism of the same species or of the same kind living together in a habitat at the same time. Then, in population studies, we have to investigate the following. Carry out a study on population. We investigate the following. studies. We investigate the following. 1. The types or species of organisms that are present, the dominant species, the characteristic features of each species. What do we mean by here? We have to study the various types of population that are found in a habitat. I told you that a population may be all the tilapia fish found in a pond, or all the tadpole found in a pond, or all the diatoms found in a pond, or it may be a plankton found, or paramecium or whatever found in the pond. These are examples of what we study, organisms that are present. So we try to hear, and then in this type of organisms that are present, we try to carry out a qualitative study which lists all the various types of population that are found in a habitat. It helps us to work out the relationships that can possibly exist between the various organisms. For example, it may be a feeding relationship. B, the dominant species. In a population, there are organisms that are more dominant over the other in number or size or both. For example, if we talk of the dominant species, we talk of the organisms that are more in number, that are more successful, that is made up of a large size. These dominant species often have a great influence on the habitat and the other population. So if we talk of dominant species, some species are more dominant over the other. What do we mean by that? In number and in size. Some are larger in number, some are more survivor than others. Then C, the characteristic feature of each population. Here, we are going to look at these population characteristics so that you see what we mean. Population characteristics. Population characteristics. What do we expect to find in a population? Number one, just as I told you that if you talk of dominant species, I said that there are some species are more dominant over the other, especially in size and in number. That is what we normally take a look at. So, one of the population characteristics is population size. Population size. Number two, we are going to look at population density. And we will also look at population frequency. Number four, we look at percentage cover. Percentage cover. And finally, percentage distribution. How is the organism or the population distributed? So let's look at this. I will talk about Factors affecting population. Let's begin with population size. Population size is very, very important as it affects the survival of a given species in a habitat. A small population may be easily wiped out by events. Events such as fire, events such as diseases, unfavorable conditions like droughts, climatic changes. If the population is very small, it may be wiped out by these events. But a large population has a greater chance of survival. Yes, like inbreeding, mating, they survive and they are not easily wiped out. Because even if events like fire, disease, unfavorable climatic changes like drought, some will remain. Some will go into extinction, but some will still remain after all those. So a large population stands a better chance of surviving danger than a small population. So you see that population size matters in the population studies. Then another is that in breeding, large population produces greater variability in larger population. You see that population size matters. If the population size is large, they have greater chances of surviving unfavorable conditions, fire breakout, and diseases, even famine. So let's look at population density. We know that density is simply mass over volume. That is, what do we mean? Population density is simply the average number of individuals of a species per unit area of the habitat. The average number of individuals of a species per unit area of the habitat. That is, if you want to take a population studies, if you mark out a given area, the number of organisms or population you find out there, that area you are taking your sampling or you are taking your studies gives you the population density. And population density has a formula. If you want to get for population size, it's simply density times area of the habitat. Then let's look at population frequency. What do we mean by population frequency? The frequency of any species is simply how often the species occurs at different sites in the habitat. How do they occur? Are they large in number? Are they small? That is, it simply means the species, how often the species occurs. Then percentage cover. Percentage cover is the area of ground covered or occupied by a given species in a habitat or in its habitat. Percentage cover is the area of ground covered or occupied by a given species in a habitat. For instance, if we take up, we want to study maybe we take some population studies in our school field. Assuming the school football, let me use the school football field. I take out the measurement of a football field. If I want to carry out a population studies there, what do we mean by percentage cover? I said that it's simply area covered or occupied by a given species, you know that mostly the species you find there is grasses, especially Bahama. They become the dominant species. They also, if you take a look at the area they cover, they almost cover most of the areas of the school football field. Then let's look at distribution. Distribution, this refers to the way in which individuals of a particular population are arranged in a given habitat. How are they arranged? How organisms or how a population are arranged in a given habitat. Generally, the individual may be clumped, evenly spaced, or randomly spaced. So this one, distribution, is talking about the way, the arrangement of populations in a given habitat. If it is where there is competition, they will be clumped together. If there is no competition, they will be spaced out. Some of them are what? Randomly spaced. What we mean by random is you select one after, maybe after 10. That is what we call random sampling. Though I will explain that when we enter into collection of specimens. Let's look at factors affecting population. Factors affecting population. What are the factors that may affect a population in a habitat? There are 3 factors that affect organisms in their habitats or population. Number 1 is migration of organisms to other areas. Migration. What do we mean by migration? For instance, if we have a fire breakout, a bush is set on fire, what you see is that most of the organisms found there will leave that place and find another habitat, since none of them wants to die. So migration of organisms to other habitats are one of the factors affecting population. Or if there is outbreak of a disease now, most of the organisms will migrate and find another habitat. Number 2 factor is invasion or colonization by new species. Invasion or colonization by a new species. What do we mean by this? Just as I told you, if a bush is set on fire, organisms will migrate. Maybe after the fire breakout, you discover that a new colony have taken up the area. Just like if you set a bush on fire, after burning, the bush begins to regrow when the rain comes. You discover that some of the grasses that you found at the initial stage is not what you find again. You see a new organisms altogether, new plants, new grasses that have not been originally there. Some of them may be carried by the wind. Some of them may be carried by water during erosion. So this is what we mean invasion or colonization by a new species. So when organisms migrate, another one comes in to invade the place. The third one is increase or decrease in birth rates and disease rates. Increase or decrease in birth rates and death rates. Yeah, we know that birth rate increases the population of an ecosystem, especially when conditions are favorable. Organism gives birth all the time. But when there is competition, when there is famine, when there is drought, when conditions are no longer favorable, organism begins to die. And when they die, their population does what? Decreases. So if we talk of increase in birth rate, is when condition is favorable. There is enough food, no shortage of food, so that organisms begin to compete for the available resources. No. So when conditions are favorable, everything is there for them. They multiply greatly in number. For instance, during the rainy season, you see that there is abundant grass. Grasses are found. If you go to dishes, you find out that there are many organisms living in them. Amoeba, paramecium, all of them are growing, giving birth continuously. But when the condition changes and are no longer favorable, you have drought, you have famine, shortage of food, competition, what happens? Organism begins to die. These are factors affecting population. So these factors I mentioned operate during seasonal climatic changes. Just as I mentioned, seasonal climatic changes like drought, fire breakout, and changes in food availability. I talk about that when there is famine, shortage of food. Number 3, breeding periods. Yes. Just like some organism has a particular time of the year they use to breed or mate. Just like fishes. They have their time to mate in the water. Their season. There are seasons they will go away and find when the condition in the water is no longer favorable. They migrate also. When they are migrating, they are not talking about mating because the condition is not favorable for them. Then, unfavorable natural events such as fire and drought, I have mentioned them earlier. I've mentioned them earlier that these factors operate during seasonal climatic changes. Like in Nigeria, our dry season begins from early November or late November, December until April. During that time, if you go to the bush, most of the bush, everywhere is dry, no rain. Organisms are dying, no grass. But immediately from April, when rainfall begins, you see everywhere full. Riverbanks overflows, flooding during June, July. So you see that these factors have they operate during climatic changes. changes in the food availability, breeding periods, unfavorable natural events such as fire and drought. I think I will summarize here. By next time, we'll now talk about conducting population studies, so you see how we can conduct a population studies of organisms in a particular ecosystem or community. So I think I will leave you here. Thank you for paying attention.